slow internet. There we go. Hello, everybody. What is up? Welcome back to another episode of the PokerNews Podcast. I'm your girl, Auntie Chardonnay, Sarah Herring, with my boy, Jeff Platt, who is in the city of sin, where everyone knows that everything is happening right now. I am in Barcelona. It is the last day, final table day going on, and it's actually a pretty exciting final table. We're going to keep it short. Let's talk really quick, Jeff. Let's tell the PokerNews Podcast fam why we are here on Monday right now, shooting live on Facebook.
So Monday morning, here we go. This starts our 3 times a week WSOP/888 Barcelona grind. This is it. This is the summer. We are here. We are here for you guys. Sometimes the episodes will be short, like 20 or 30 minutes. Sometimes we'll do a longer one. When Sarah comes to Vegas, we'll also do some streaming of sorts. Maybe we'll bring some people on. It's going to be great. The cliche line is going to be a great summer, but it really is. I really believe that.
It's going to be a great summer, and I have to admit that we already actually have a lot of action going on. It's barely been a week, not even a week yet, and the WSOP has been crushing so far. I feel like let's just get this 888 stuff. Let's talk about that really quick, so then we can filter all the WSOP stuff in together. And also, can you hear this when when people's comments come in, or am I the only one that hears that?
No, I think you're the only one. I don't hear anything else.
Oh, okay, great. It's just me, guys. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be super annoying the whole show. All right, so let's talk a little 888. Last night, 2 o'clock in the morning, Kara Scott comes back. Kara Scott obviously has been gone. For those who didn't know, she was with child. She gave birth to a child about 1 year and 1 week ago. So she kind of took herself out of the scene. We missed her, of course, at the World Series of Poker last year, but that really opened up the door for my boy Jeff Platt to come in and take over, which was great. But Kara Scott made her big comeback, her big return to the 888 poker event here, and then just at 2 o'clock in the morning last night shipped the ladies event. So big congrats to her. And then, Jeff, I don't know if they tell you this or like when they make these announcements, but Kara Scott is indeed coming back for the World Series of Poker ESPN coverage main event this year.
Yes, which is awesome. I saw your interview with her, which you guys can catch on Poker News. I mean, Kara, just an absolute legend, somebody I look up to as a broadcaster. How about that? She finally travels to a poker tournament and then just ships an event. Pretty cool. Pretty nice life.
No big deal. I have to admit that I did ship that event 2 years ago, and I didn't have time yesterday, so I would have put up some competition for sure for her. But it was actually, I just love the ladies event pretty much anywhere, and especially in Barcelona. It was honestly one of the most beautiful, legitimately beautiful final tables I've ever seen. And right now we have a slightly less beautiful 2 final table situation going down in the main event. We've got 14 players left, 110,000 euros up top. But what a lot of people may or may not realize is that as of about 4 events ago, 888 Poker has included a WSOP main event package with every single winner of their events. So not only are these players competing for 110,000 euros, they're also competing for a 2,600 I want to say euro, maybe dollar, but essentially it's a main event package with hotel flights, all that goodness. And we've actually got some sick players still in. Martin Jacobson is still in the final 14, as well as Fernando Pons. So 2 players who are clearly familiar with, the WSOP main event lights, all the action. And it just goes to show poker. I was obviously here last night watching the stream, and Martin got it all in with he had the other guy covered by slightly, but he got it in aces and queens. He had the queens, of course. It's the river queen for Martin. And it's just so interesting, when you see poker, and then now with 14 players left, he's, I think, 4th or 5th in chips. And it just never ceases to amaze me that it's these small little moments where you just get that one little variance that goes your way, that one little spot that goes your way, and potentially could have so much equity when we look at him getting into the main event for free.
Yeah, and the rest of the tournament, as nice of a guy as Martin Jacobson is, they were all rooting against him, and they were all probably pretty devastated when that queen ball came. For a guy like Martin Jacobson to have chips in this event, that is quite the threat, I would say, to the rest of the field.
million zillion %. He's such a sicko. And actually, I was trying to get a hand analysis with him on this last break, and he's like, I'm super focused. I really don't want to do any interviews until it's all over, which, you know, I have to totally respect. And it's just interesting because I think when you have these events where you assume that there's going to be a lot more fish, or, you know, I think especially here in Spain, things are always crazy. There's always like fields just out the wazoo. And for Martin to still just, you know, he's like, I'm in it and I'm super focused. And the pay jumps obviously in this type of a spot there was 551 total players. So with I think 14 players left, the payout's like 5,500 euros. So it's like the difference between, you know, 5,500 euros and 110K is obviously quite a lot. I just wanted to also briefly mention that the high roller here really crushed it. They got, I think, 84 runners, more than we anticipated, and Vivian Saliba took third. She's also someone we haven't seen in a little while. She took a break. I think she's trying to work on getting her European citizenship so that she can travel and play more over here, but she came right out the gate, took third. I saw her this morning. She's on her way to the World Series, and we talked a little bit, Jeff, you know, how many women are going to win bracelets, and one of the reasons why I think not that many women are going to win bracelets is that not that many women are good at playing mixed games. There's a very, very few, Ite being one of them, and Vivian Saliba being another one. So I do think if there's a woman to win a bracelet this year in a no limit hold'em event, my money's a million % on Vivian. All right, why don't you tell me what's been going on at the WSOP?
Oh my, we've had a lot going on. I will break it down. We'll make it short and sweet. I think most importantly, Sarah, this isn't on the rundown because this just finished up literally hours ago. Phil Hellmuth final tabled the $400 online bracelet event, 1,995 entries. Hellmuth was in the mix looking for bracelet number 16. As I was watching it and tweeting about it, decided, like, you know what, I'll just throw it up on Twitch. We had an awesome time in the chat trying to diagnose. You know, it's a lot harder to do poker commentary without hole cards, I would say.
Yes.
It was still a blast to watch Phil Hellmuth. He came up short. He finished in fifth for about 40K. As far as other events are concerned, our first big final table was the 10K Super Turbo. That was one that Brian Green took down. 204 runners. Brian Green won his first bracelet, about $350,000. The Bosnian phenom, Ali Imsirovic, finished in second place, of course, for more than 230K. Big note to come out of this one, Sarah. Daniel Negreanu, final tables, the very first event that he plays this summer. So you got to feel like he's probably feeling good to start the series.
Dude, it's all going down. And it's so crazy because, first of all, I just did a video asking players, you know, who's a really well-known player that hasn't won a bracelet that's definitely going to win a bracelet. I've been asking from our Poker News predictions what poker players actually think. And I just realized no one said Ali Imsirovic. Like, what were we doing? Has he won a bracelet? He hasn't, right? He's definitely got to win a bracelet. He's got to be on the table to win a bracelet this year. So no surprise to see him as runner-up in like the first event. But I don't know that I was actually. Of course, everyone's really excited. The first event, everybody's still paying attention to everything, and the 10K Turbo I think is an event that's interesting and fun. Anyways, I know literally zero about Brian Green. Who is Brian Green?
Yeah, Brian Green, businessman out of Texas. How about that?
Yeah, my boy.
Yeah, now you're a big Brian Green fan. Out of Decatur. He just, you know, I think he just moved to Las Vegas. He plays a lot of the high rollers. I think he plays a decent amount of the big cash games. Comes out during the summers all the time, and it's just he has a second, a third, and a fifth at the World Series of Poker, and finally got that W. He got it in with ace-9 against kings for Ali. This tournament, you're just always getting it in with 20-minute blinds.
For sure.
He got it in with ace-9 against kings, flopped a 9, rivered a9 to take down his first bracelet. So that was event number 2, the 10K Super Turbo Bounty. Event number 1 actually finished up a day later. That was the Casino Employees event that Nick Haynes on Aria Dealer 1. I know Nick a little bit from his appearance on Friday Night Poker. Shout out to Nick. Isaac Hansen from the World Series of Poker Media Relations staff. Back-to-back cashes. He finished in second. Heck of a run once again. And then, Sarah, Poker News writer Adam Lammers finishes in 6th place. How about that?
Listen, I gotta say, first of all, Adam Lammers is one of the nicest, coolest dudes ever. But also, he just... took down another, maybe he didn't win. I have to check his Hendon but he just had another really big score recently. And so I guess Mo Nawara has got a little bit of a competition on his hands. So when we got all these Chad Holloway, you guys watch out, dude. We got these other live reporters coming for you. And I'm surprised. Isaac Haxton, I remember his first summer at the World Series of Poker. I'm like the old grandma of poker. When
he was an intern or something?
Yes, and he was like a little baby, and he still looks like a little baby, but I didn't even know that he knew how to play poker, so good for him. I mean, good for him. Amen. Way to go, Isaac. Also, can I just briefly, before we go too far into this, ask you, what is Phil Hellmuth doing playing an online poker tournament? Like, does he even play online?
Hey, you know this. If there's a bracelet up for grabs, we're probably going to see Phil Hellmuth. I mean, he fires 2 bullets in the 50K high roller and then, effectively jumps into the big 50, $500 buy-in, and then plays the $400 online bracelet event. I guarantee you he will be back at I guess there's no big 50 fight today. Whatever is going on today, Phil Hellmuth will be in the mix.
He will be in all of them.
Looking for a bracelet.
All of the events.
He will be at the $1,500 dealer's choice. Perfect. The $600 deep stack event. Perfect. I mean, there's a 5K event later tonight. Yeah, he'll be firing all for sure.
Well, hi, by the way, in Australia, and just for the commenters out there, we are not PC here on the Poker News Podcast, so don't worry. If that's what you come here for, we're not. That's not us. I'm sure there's another podcast that has that. So speaking of, though, let's talk a little bit about the Big 50. Am I right? I have been seeing, actually, I've followed this one trader, Gregory Manarino, who lives in Las Vegas, and he was posting yesterday that he waited in line for 2 hours to play the Big 50, and when he got to the cage, they said, sorry, we're sold out. And I don't know, there have been very few times, I think, in my poker career that an event that big and that crazy has said, sorry, sir, we don't want your money here, because we literally have nowhere to put you.
Yeah, isn't that unbelievable? And this happened every single day. Thursday's flight sold out. Friday's flight sold out. Saturday's flight sold out. Sunday's flight sold out. Now, props to the WSOP. If you wanted to play in the Big 50, you could play in the Big 50. You just have to join a late registration line, buy your seat at that cage, move to a different table, blah, 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 blah. But everybody who wanted to play got in. Somehow, they did not turn anybody down, which created a field. We don't have the final numbers yet, but we have estimates. Created a field of around 26,000 entries, which makes this the biggest live tournament in poker history. It shatters the old record set by the Colossus, which was at about like 22K. Sarah, yesterday's flight had more than 9,000 entries. More than 9,000. They had people not just at like Guy Fieri's restaurant, not just in the Rio Poker Room, but like out by the abandoned like bowling alley. I mean, it was just like there were tables everywhere. The place was a madhouse. The Rio Convention Center parking lot is massive, but you could not find a spot to park. Unbelievable turnout. Props to the WSOP. I mean, this thing still has a long way to go, but I think that they managed the crowd somewhat well, all things considered. That when a Thursday flight of a tournament gets more than 6,000 players, that you're going to be in for a pretty big crowd.
Legit, when that happened, everyone was probably like, oh, wait, what have we done? Like, yeah. And you and I talked about this, as we were reviewing the schedule a few weeks ago, that there's so many logistics that go into, making sure you have dealers, making sure you have tables, making sure you have the right structure, every single time you're creating a tournament, there's just infinite ways it could go right and wrong. And when you've never done said tournament before, I don't have any idea how these guys are, how they're trying to figure this stuff out. But again, it comes back to the theme of the Poker News Podcast, which is that poker is not dead. Now, before we get too much farther in, for our audience who is listening online and not watching now on the Facebook Live, we're going to give you a quick shout out to our sponsors, Odds Checker. 14 minutes and 32 seconds is when we give a shout out to our homies Odds Checker. And in the meantime, okay, so this is something that's not on our outline, which Jeff so graciously creates. But I want to talk a little bit about, because today is going to ultimately be the final table, am I right, of this 50K high roller? And I know like nothing about it. What's happening there? I'm sure there's all the players.
Yeah, 110 entries down to a final 6. It will be streamed on Poker Go. I'll have your sideline reporting, just FYI. Okay, so Ben Heath has the chip lead. Sam Savarell right behind him. Lucky Chewy in the mix. Nick Petrangelo has about 34 bigs to enter play today. Chance Kornuth is there, 5 million in chips. That's 42 big blinds. And Dmitry Urasov out of Russia. Not familiar with him, but overall a pretty stacked final table, I would say. Elio Fox in 7th. Kerry Katz finished in 8th. David Einhorn in 9th. Manning Gloser in 10th. Sam Grafton in 11th. Britton Kenny in 14th. Johannes Becker finished 15th. Eric Wasserson finished in 16th. More than $1.4 million up for grabs.
Wow. And again, it's the same thing that we tend to see, I think, over and over, which is like once a player gets hot, he's hot. And we were just talking about Ben Heath, the millions. He final tabled the millions as well. We were talking about what a great player he is, how he may or may not have been, sort of overshadowed by Charlie Carroll for a few years here now. And now it's really, really his time to shine. And I think Chance Kornuth, one of the best smiles in poker, no questions. I mean, Nick Petrangelo, any of these guys, this is going to be great to watch. So, again, can you tell us again where we can watch it? Should we be able to? And will you be commentating, Chad?
1 p.m. Pacific time on Poker Go. And I think it's Ali on the call. And all of your kind of sideline reporting stuff. Like for the Super Turbo Bounty, we talked to Daniel Negreanu a couple times, did a sideline report. We'll have more of that today because this will certainly be a longer table today. So, Poker Go, yeah.
All right, well, as you guys know, since we are going to be doing this every couple days, we won't be talking so much about the tournaments that are going on that haven't finished, as, of course, things are changing all the time. But since we're on Facebook Live and you guys are watching with us live, we might as well let you know what's up. In the meantime, though, there has been more winners already. It just feels like this thing just started. I'm over here.
Yep.
I'm missing all the action. So event number 4, the $1,500 Omaha high-low. We saw Derek McMaster take that down for $228,228. Ooh, that's a nice round bracelet number. I'm not super familiar with him. Did you follow the action of this tournament at all?
I followed it a little bit because your boy Ben Yu was at the final table. He finished in 7th place, taking home a little more than $27K. Shannon Shore finished 8th. Patrick Leonard finished in 9th. For McMaster, this was his very first World Series of Poker cash. So his first cash, his first final table, his first bracelet. He takes home $228,228. Like you said, how's that? You make the money and you just ship a World Series of Poker bracelet in a pretty sizable field. This field always draws well, 853 players this year. Impressive performance from Mr. McMaster.
I mean, that's one of those times where it's kind of like, oh, we're sorry, friend, but there's nowhere to go here but down. Although I will also say that's really you hook them. Give them some good days. Sorry, guys, I got to get way out of the sun. I feel like I'm going to regret not choosing Ben Yu for Player of the Year again. I feel like I've made a terrible mistake already, and my reputation is going to be in shambles. Patrick Leonard, of course, is such a sicko, and honestly, he's just a really great player to watch. He doesn't chat a lot. He's not Mr. Super Friendly, but there's so much going on in his game all the time, and listening to the commentary, I think, whenever Patrick is playing is really, really fun and crazy. Now, in addition to all of the action that's been going down at the WSOP, one of the most difficult things in trying to schedule and plan all of this coverage is that simultaneously the World Poker Tour had their season of final tables since the last time a couple months ago. They had their final tables going on, and it was totally crazy. So many audience, and obviously Maria Ho was at a final table, so that's like, you can't really ask for much more. And you were there, am I right?
That is correct. Yeah, it's just been an absolute madhouse in Vegas over this last week, with the series starting with the Big 50 just going absolutely ham, and with the delayed final tables at the HyperX Esports Arena. That's the World Poker Tour's new home, so to speak. They introduced us to it last year. It's a phenomenal venue. So after we did the Super Turbo final table broadcast. I went over to the arena to support my girl Maria Ho, to take off the media badge, Sarah, to just act as a fan. Maria did not run particularly well. She put up a crazy fight. She finished in third for about $345,000. This place was absolutely packed. And like when Maria would win a pot, or really when Maria doubled up, I mean, it was legitimately loud in the arena. It was kind of cool. It like gave it a real sports vibe. I mean, it's not quite like WSOP main event final table action, but really, really strong. And I think it was a great live viewing experience. It was a great run from Maria, and it was a really great run from James Carroll, who takes down his second World Poker Tour title, wins more than $715,000. One of the true sickos that we have in this game.
Wow, that's so crazy. Yeah, I talked to, so Tiffany Mitchell is here also at the 888 poker event, and we were both sitting there sweating, from the internet. Unfortunately, we weren't actually there, but she was saying, I can just see in Maria's face her, it's the worst when you're not playing bad and you're just also not getting into any spots that make sense, and you're watching, other people double up, and you're watching all the action go down, and you just can't get there, and I think Maria, she wants it so bad. So hopefully this transitions into a bracelet this summer or something, so we can commiserate, so she can get over this disappointment afterwards. Now, so this was an incredible finish. Also, I saw on Instagram some like crazy moments from Craig Varnell taking down the WPT Choctaw so that he could be a part of, he was like the last guy to get into the Tournament of Champions, right?
Yeah, I think the next, so the Aria WPT event was kind of going on concurrently with these delayed final tables, and Matthew Wantman won that. So either him or Varnell, the last one to make the Tournament of Champions. Craig Varnell, on his birthday, no less, was down to less than 4 big blinds at this final table, and he just comes back and ships it for about $380,000. This Choctaw event was a $3,700 buy-in. That's why the payouts are a little less. Incredible performance from Varnell. You can read about his story on Poker News, but here's a guy that's really turned his life around and credits poker for the most part for that. He won a WSOP bracelet last year at a Pot Limit Omaha event, and then he ships a WPT event. So it's been quite the year for Craig Varnell. And to do it on his birthday, I mean, that is pretty cool.
I remember doing his interview after he won his bracelet, and he teared up a little bit. I mean, obviously it meant a lot to him, and I think, you mentioned he has a really interesting story. He has sort of a tough road, which he's pulled himself out of and managed to take care of his family by playing poker. And I definitely, to see that he shipped another title like that made me really happy. And actually, for those who are listening in the world of the podcast land instead of on the Facebook Live world, I'm going to just give you guys a little taste of that interview from last year. 23-20, we go to our boy Varnell. So you went to go check out, obviously, to watch Maria play, but that's not the only action that you saw from the WPT. I know they had a big press conference. They clearly had a lot of final tables going on. They have the Tournament of Champions. So talk to me a little bit about what you heard.
Well, yeah, this is great. The WPT puts on this press conference every year. We were there last year when they introduced us to the HyperX Esports Arena, and we got to hear from President and CEO Adam Pliska, got to hear from Vice President of Global Tour Management and Global Poker Award winner for Industry Person of the Year, Angelica Hale. We got to hear from our guy, Executive Tour Director Matt Savage. A combination of announcements. Not only did they evaluate how this past year has gone, how the delayed final table experience has been for them as they try to work through some kinks in the live viewing experience, and I think they've definitely done a better job as far as that goes. The live experience this week compared to 2 or 3 months ago, whenever they had those couple in March, it was drastically different. It was almost like you were at a sporting event. You had performances, you had a magician during the breaks, you had chip counts on the screen, you had very good monitors on the screen so you could keep track of the action. You could hear Matt Savage in the crowd so you could keep track of the action. I just think they've done a really good job in enhancing the overall experience. They talked about, Valerie Cross was also there from PokerNews. She's going to write up basically everything they had to say because they really do have a lot going on. They introduced some stops over this next season. They are keeping, a lot of the same partners, Choctaw, Borgata, some hotels at casinos from the MGM family, et cetera, et cetera. They also announced their WPT Honors, which is effectively like their version of the Poker Hall of Fame. So like Linda Johnson, Lyle Berman, Steve Lipscomb already inducted. And this year, Erik Seidel will be inducted and Matt Savage. So after all these things I just mentioned, and for those of you on Facebook Live, you can hear this a little bit later on the podcast, but I think we should just toss to this right now, Sarah. So I chatted with the boss man. I guess they're all bosses. Adam Pliska, Angelica Hale, Matt Savage. We start with the president and CEO of the World Poker Tour. Mark down that time code.
Boom.
Boom.
2550. 2550. All right, cool.
25.
We toss to the homies and then we come back. So now you've been to the Hypersports Arena. You've been everywhere. You've talked to everyone. You're going to be our go-to guy at the WPT events, which good for you. I'm super glad about all of this. But I need to clarify with you, since you're the WPT expert, Matt Savage has not actually been inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame yet, or has he? I feel like he's nominated every year.
Yes, I also feel like he's nominated every year, and I do not think he's
I don't think he's
been
won,
inducted in the
because
Poker Hall of
he's
Fame.
Nominated every year, and if he won, I would notice. Okay.
Yeah, well, right. He was a finalist last year and did not get in. That is correct. He's in the Poker Room Managers Hall of Fame, according to Wikipedia, but not in the Poker Hall of Fame yet. It makes sense for the World Poker Tour to bring him in. I mean, he didn't quite say it when we talked because he's much more modest and humble than maybe he should be. But like he revolutionized the way a tour does tournaments. Like it's a standard structure everywhere effectively at the World Poker Tour. He helped to bring in Big Blind Ante. I just think it's a very well-deserved honor for Savage. The players love him. It's just makes sense.
I completely agree. And so many other things, like making the final table levels shorter. I was on so many tournaments for so long that didn't have that. And I just kept thinking, why don't we just do what the WPT does? It's working best for everyone. But a huge congratulations to Matt, obviously very well deserved, and in the comments everyone is saying the same, and long overdue, and thank you, James, for your comments. But so maybe also this year could be the year that he gets into the Poker Hall of Fame, because I think it's time. # did not receive for Matt Savage needs to start, because it's about time, and I think if anybody deserves it, it is definitely Matt Savage, and for a lot of reasons. But if I were to say, as much as I love my boy Tony Burns, I love my boy Seth, there's a lot of up and coming tournament directors I think who are fantastic, but I mean, let's get serious. Matt Savage is the quintessential, the tournament director.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Tony will say it. I think I just saw Tony in the chat. What is up, Tony? That a lot of these guys probably look up to Matt Savage for sure. And so the relationship that Seminole, for example, has created with the World Poker Tour, I'm sure both Tony and Matt Savage have been instrumental in that. I feel like, maybe wrong, I just feel like all the tournament directors get along really well. Mm-hmm. So when Matt Savage and Tony Burns and Paul Campbell are in the same room like they were over this last weekend, it's just they're just really good friends, and I think that helps tournament poker thrive as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. We should all be working together, especially in that world. It can be them versus players if they want. They can start their own army.
Unite against players.
I know you have to go. You have to go be on camera. You have a lot of work to do today. I want to answer one quick question from J Rock. Do you guys think that the WPT is that much different than the WSOP poker events? I'm just curious, being somewhat new to poker. And I thought this is an interesting question in that I just asked a bunch of players, would you rather win a WPT title or a WSOP prelim bracelet? And it was pretty universal. actually was 100% universal. Everyone said a WSOP bracelet. And I think I was the one who came up with the question, because for me, I wouldn't be so sure. And I'm not a professional poker player, so I don't know. But maybe, do you think, Jeff, that still really the WSOP, a huge part of it just has to do with that history and that clout that comes with the history?
Yeah, listen, you nailed it. It's impossible to match the prestige that a World Series of Poker bracelet has to offer. Now, if you went back to those players and you were super specific on the prelim event and said, you know what, you'll ship the $600 deep stack event that's happening today for a bracelet, or you can ship a WPT main, you might have received some different answers. I think what's interesting also is that the two companies, organizations, whatever you want to call them, I think they work very well with each other. You know, we don't really see the World Poker Tour interfere with the World Series of Poker. We don't really see the World Series of Poker interfere with the World Poker Tour. There are naturally going to be conflicts throughout the course of an entire year, but I think it's important that Jack Effel and Matt Savage and Adam Pliska, you know, they all get along really well. The broadcast companies, you know, with Moya Skandani and Sam Simmons at Poker Central, they're putting on WPT broadcast. They're putting on World Series of Poker broadcast. So I think just everybody is really aligned. And Jay, from a viewing perspective, considering you are new to poker, there's nothing like walking in the World Series of Poker and seeing all those tables. And there's really nothing like the atmosphere of the World Series of Poker main event when that starts getting down to final 100 or so and less players. But to WPT's credit, they have made a real viewing experience out of their final tables as well. So I'd encourage you to stop by HyperX Esports Arena next go-round.
I have to say, I was just sort of flipping through the Rolodex of events I've covered in the last decade, and I don't think I've ever been to a WPT event, which is crazy. When
really?
I just say it like out loud, I'm like,
what?
I don't think I've ever been to a WPT event, but I personally have a deep respect for those events. And honestly, if you asked me if I was going to win a prelim bracelet or a WPT title, I would say WPT title. There's like 70 something bracelets, right? I don't know how many WPT titles are there, maybe 12 a year or something. I don't know what their seasons look like, since we know I've never even been to one. But yeah, I expected a lot more. I think maybe it's because the WSOP is just about to start, and so everyone's obsessed with the idea of getting a bracelet. But yeah, let's put it out to the audience. Let us know what you guys think. I'd love to compile a more comprehensive list of what you guys think. Now, I know you got to go to work. Jeff, thank you guys so much for tuning in and for checking in with us. We're going to be doing this. We'll try to get it on a semi-regular schedule, and maybe these morning hours might work best for both of us. But we'll let you guys know. I'm going to be in Vegas starting next week. So once I get to Vegas, Jeff and I will figure out exactly what the schedule looks like. But you can look for podcasts every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And yeah, if you guys have ideas, if you see stories, which shout out to our boy Sean Chafin, who did send us some stories, but we haven't had a chance to read through and get everything set up yet. When you do Sean Chafin stories, you got to dig deep. You know, you don't just
that much is true.
You're not skimming the surface. So we'll check those out and let you guys know what looks juicy. And I fully expect that the next 6-7 weeks are going to be so fun, so good, so much content. It's so awesome when there's so much good content. You guys can follow Jeff at Jeff Platt. You can follow me at Auntie Chardonnay, at Jeff Platt, at Auntie Chardonnay, and any stories, whatever you guys want. And be sure if you see us at the Rio to, you know, give us a high five or something like that. Try to get Jeff's number, dude. If you're a cute girl, just saying.
Oh yeah, that's true. It'll be readily available, I will say.
Okay, yes, Jeff, he's already like making up a fake number right now, I can see. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Deuces.